All right. Well, hello and welcome to another week of our Apocalypse World second edition campaign, The Frozen Heights. We are joined with three of our characters. So this is going to be our primary cast moving forward. We have the Emperor, Dusk, and Lark. And so it's really good to have everybody back again. I think last week we ended on a pretty high note. So actually, I'd love to hear the perspective, and I'm going to pick on Lark because I think Lark had a lot going on last week. So
It
give us
was
an
a
idea
day.
of, it hasn't even really finished the day yet. So what has been going on in Lark's world in the past 4 hours? Give us a rundown of last week's session.
All right, so Lark was kind of meaning to finally get his followers that died on the way to the castle a proper burial, but in addition to being distracted by Windjammer chasing Dusk, the weird purple maggots that there were on the table, and his interaction with the Emperor that kind of left him realizing this isn't the man he once knew anymore. Lark has realized that he might be in danger of being recruited to fight in a war. He is potentially the only one that currently knows that Dusk had at least knows something of Windjammer's death. He the brawl that went south so fast. Abraham did it again. After getting us kicked out of Ashtown, he was foolish enough to start a violent confrontation with more members of Ashtown and forced Lark's hand, resulting in the death of both the Ashtowners, one by his own hand, one by the Emperor's. And he, despite the fact he really wanted to go check on his cult, the Emperor has ushered him into his quarters for a private conversation.
Indeed, indeed. So, as we come into tonight, let's go ahead and highlight some stats. I think the situation has changed a little bit, so we might want to make some moves. Let's start with you, Emperor, who has the highest hex on your sheet. Again, everybody will need to remove Angus, so it'll be 50-50 on who it's going to be. So
Yeah, it's actually a tie between Dusk and Lark. So Lark.
Oh, this is a hard choice because this could potentially come back to haunt me.
Irony.
I've made him too powerful. I will say we're gonna highlight the Emperor's cool.
Cool. Okay.
I don't think we've had that one for the Emperor yet.
The first session, I believe.
Oh, was it?
I think it was cool and sharp the first session.
Yeah, I think I highlighted his cool
in
the first session.
So, I think the Emperor is finding himself in this strange place where he's about to interact with a Hocus. He's searching for a ghost girl, and his main enemy is a three-eyed weirdo. I think the Emperor might need to tap into that strange bit of mystery that's just beyond his reach a little bit, and let's highlight that weird.
All right. Sounds good. Can't wait to talk to the entity again.
There we
Play
go.
another game of chess against them. One day I'll checkmate him. One day.
All right, Dusk, what about you?
Are we highlighting stats?
Yeah, who has the highest hex on your sheet between the Emperor and Lark?
The Emperor.
Ooh. Highlight your weird. I'm gonna be nice.
Weird on a brainer, you madman.
You absolute madman.
Dusk, I think you're in this interesting situation where you're trying to learn more. Who is this Lark person? What is this skull and this being that keeps appearing in your vision? So let's highlight your sharp. I think you need to be aware of your surroundings as we go later into the night in your playtime. And Lark, who has the highest on yours?
Invictus.
Oh
Didn't
boy.
have that extra eye this time.
Hey, you're
I didn't
learning.
realize how long I was actually doing that. I feel horrible.
Let's see. Highlight your heart for me.
If you weren't gonna do what I was,
Oh, I can
But-
think of one person I'm gonna roll that against today.
I think you also need to. I think you need to highlight your weird as well. You this whole situation. You just got your whack nut. I think you might need to tap into that spiritual.
got a few screws
center.
loose.
Yeah, you gotta get yourself refocused in the maelstrom. Awesome. Yeah, since we're still kind of at the end of day one, I'm not going to do lifestyle yet. We won't have you re-roll, but if we make it into day two, then we'll kind of go through those moves again. So let's kind of bring everything back in. So it's probably about 6 o'clock at night. It's still not that late, but it looks like it's middle of the night. It's just you look up in the sky and it's dark, but what's strange about this is that there's still a bit of like this gray light that seems to go over, almost like if you're looking up into maybe within a dome or something like that, where there's not enough clouds right now to cover up the distant sun. And the way that the stars shine, they all seem to be faded, but there's almost this repetition, almost like a string of Christmas tree lights where they all kind of flicker and flash, almost in a way that someone that studied them might be able to see something. But it's just the fact that it seems like the stars are all starting to die and the sky is becoming darker and darker by the month and by the year. It's been a fairly cold day, but within the walls, it's warm. There's orange light almost everywhere, torches, campfires. There's taverns that just have enough warmth that it flows out. There's still snow that's built up against the walls, kind of towards the edge around the courtyard and up towards the castle. But just stepping outside, you immediately feel that bitter cold. It whips all around. There's probably 5 or 6 feet of just packed snow that go up to the side of the wall. It's cold. It's not a fun place to be. But in that exact courtyard, kind of towards the front of the southern gate, is where the group or the primary of the population has begun to disperse. There was a fight here recently, and it's quite evident by the fairly large blood puddle that has seeped into the snow. There's actually a few kids that have seen this as an opportunity to go up and make red snowballs and begin to have a little bit of a snowball fight in the middle of the courtyard. A few parents seem to be a little hesitant at that, but for those kids that their parents are part of the Legion, they're just out there letting the kids have the great old time. The bodies have been taken away back to the incinerator, where there's still a plan for a funeral to go on tonight, but we haven't got the call that the incinerator is warm enough, and now that the bodies have begun to stack up, it's probably going to need to be a bit warmer before that happens. So we begin by following. We see the Emperor and Lark, the legate, beginning to make their way towards the castle. What part of the castle are you guys going to?
We are going to be going to the dining hall.
Okay.
Probably, yeah.
As you make your way inside, not all the food has been cleared away since everybody kind of rushed out during dinner. The servants were kind of part of that. They also wanted to see what the commotion was about. So there's still some leftover food there. There's still some blood on the table from Angus's hand. The Medicaid didn't bother cleaning that up. As you enter back in, you don't see anyone in there. It seems like maybe the servants haven't made their way back yet, or maybe they might be in the back doing something else. But for the moment, it's just the three of you. The legate.
They were still being followed by Drago.
I know.
Oh, okay.
So for the moment, it's just the three of you as you begin to enter your way, and the legate kind of waits for the Emperor and Lark to walk in, and he goes to close the door when there's a foot that's stuck between the door, and there's this thunk. and he kind of opens it and peeks through, and you hear him talking. Drag, you're not needed right now. Drag just kind of stands there, his foot still firmly in the door, just kind of staring inside the room. The Legate once more. You're not needed here. He kind of looks back, sir. And he opens the door. Drag kind of comes in and just kind of stands weirdly. Like, it doesn't look like he's necessarily taking a position in the room. He just kind of enters and seems to observe.
Why are you disobeying the Legate's orders, Drag?
Like, looks to you for a moment, kind of confused that I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Emperor. I'll take my post outside, and you see him like kind of turn. And he looks back once more, and he looks at Lark. He turns again, and he begins to kind of move towards the door, and the Legate opens it once more and kind of like pushes him through. And once more, as he's like closing the door, Drag kind of stops once more, and the door hits him in the back. And you see his head kind of peek through once more and just look back into the room before the Legate just shoves him, and you hear the door close shut.
Make sure you have someone keep an eye on him.
Sir?
A little insubordination amongst your men?
That doesn't usually happen. That's why I need to keep a close eye on that. After all, it is my job to keep an eye on everything. Speaking of which, I believe you have some information for me.
And Lark Lark has had this look on his face, like, kind of like part like pouty kid and part like just anxious, because like Invictus is probably very aware he does not want to be here. He wants to go talk to his cult members, which he just saw him murder someone. And not murder someone, which ironically is probably a bigger problem to them. So, and Lark's just kind of not even asking permission, just takes the nearest seat at the table and just looks at the Emperor. What will you do with this information I give you regarding the Winters Wraith?
Depends on what the information is. I'm not going to harm this person if that's what you're asking me. I simply want to be aware of what's going on inside my walls.
I certainly didn't think you intended to harm them. Otherwise, you wouldn't have sent me. You would have sent guards.
Yep, that's completely right. So, tell me now.
Well, I can assure you that this is no ghost you are dealing with.
Of course, ghosts don't exist.
Unfortunately, what you're dealing with might prove to be significantly worse.
That's why I sent you.
I noticed some footprints in the snow, but chose not to follow them. I was given a message from the entity saying that the Wraith would find me instead. And she did. In the church. I imagine you probably heard of a strange noise emanating from the location not too long ago.
The Emperor kind of like looks at the Legate for a second.
You recall Drag had mentioned it as he was kind of ushering you to the garage.
The Emperor's like, yep, I'm aware of that.
I cannot exactly describe what this sound was, but I'll tell you right now, it hurt. It hurt quite a bit. And after that scuffle down in the garage and the trial by combat, kind of like brings a finger up to like some of his bruises. You should know that I do not... My pain tolerance is a little bit higher than others. If I say it's hurt, it hurt.
I've noticed.
After that, while I was trying to regain my wits, she left.
Interesting. Next time, I'm assuming there's going to be a next time. Next time she comes by, tell her to pay me a visit. It'd be fascinating to have a conversation with this girl.
She didn't seem much one for conversation. I tried and reached out to touch her, and that's what caused her to release whatever that sound was. And it wasn't just me. One of my followers outside, it seemed like she lost her hearing. I haven't had an opportunity to get back there and see if she's all right.
The Emperor chuckles a bit, says, "Why, yes. Well, I'm sure as you know very well by now, you don't need to talk to have a conversation. That should be enough, Lark, unless you think there's anything else you should tell me."
Lark kind of takes a breath. Like, there are multiple things weighing on his mind. On one hand, he wants to just run back to the church. But on the other, like, this is an important topic, and he has things he wants to come of this. So Lark kind of looks to the Emperor. This is probably going to be a roll in a bit, but I'm telling you that whatever she is, it's more dangerous than I can even tell you now. I have a feeling that, well, I have a feeling that the ability that she displayed before is not the full extent of her abilities. Perhaps it would be best to let me see what more I can discover before sending her your way. I know you tend not to believe in things unless there's proof, and unfortunately I can offer none. Most of the damage dealt by that noise seems to have been internal, but I think it best not to send her to you until I can at least somewhat predict what she'll do. I'd hate to send her your way and you meet an unfortunate end. And I'm going to roll to manipulate.
Ooh.
Awesome. All right.
Okay.
And I believe you use weird for that?
Yes, because of my charismatic ability, which is now +3.
Is it possible for me to interfere with this roll?
Yeah, I think... I guess,
Oh, boy.
The way I would see this is... The Emperor, you've had conversations with Lark before. Like... but not to this point of intensity. And you haven't really had anyone necessarily stand up to you before to kind of give you their thoughts and opinions on what the next plan of action should be. So you might have that feeling of, yeah, Lark, I'm not one of your followers. So yeah, I'm definitely down to see you roll against your history and see what kind of interference you might have.
Okay. So do I just roll HX then?
Yep,
Lark?
that's correct.
Okay.
And partial success, it's -1. Full success, it's -2.
Correct.
Full success.
All right, so it's going to be at
So
-2.
What do we see change with the Emperor that kind of shows you how you're about to kind of protect yourself against his honeyed words?
Mm-hmm. The Emperor's kind of... So he was more or less relaxed in his seat, but now he's kind of like standing up a bit more inside his seat, shoulders back, head forward, kind of like adopting a much more regal stance, using that a bit as his own shield to protect himself against Lark's words. Over the shield of, I have authority here. So do I move my HX at all? I forget about that.
No. You just that only changes at the end of the session.
Okay.
Or if you end up harming him or healing him through physical assault or mental or whatever it is. Yeah.
Okay.
Who knows where the night could end?
Exactly. So yeah, as you're, kind of, how do you use? your weird ability to manipulate people? Is it just the way that you're saying these words? Does it kind of have that creepy undertone? Is it something else?
There's probably a bit of the creepy undertone, but I think because my weird has upped, something new and interesting is about to happen. I imagine that there's like torchlight and everything, so there's plenty of shadows around. Mm-hmm. Invictus probably sees like some of the shadows like suddenly aren't matching my movements quite well, and suddenly like the faintest, like he probably just dismisses it, but like swears he hears a whisper.
Nice. Well, let's go ahead and roll this weird.
All right, so -2 for the interference. Partial success.
And that's with your +3?
Yes.
Perfect.
Okay, so
I got 2 and a 4 +3 -2.
Okay. So yeah, you choose one. What is the stick you're offering the Emperor? What is it you want him to do?
I want him to let me, for at least for now, handle the Wraith.
Mm-hmm.
I want him to just kind of let me continue with what I've been doing and not get directly involved.
Okay.
So you get, Lark, you choose one. You can either say they can go along with you and mark experience. So if they don't, okay, they don't. Or if they refuse, he has to erase one of their stat highlights for the remainder of the session. So you pick which one of those you're kind of offering. Are you offering the stick?
Yeah.
Or are you offering the carrot?
Okay. So basically, if I choose to go along with it, I gain XP. If not, I choose to erase one of my highlights.
He has to pick which one he's offering you. He's either going to offer you the stick or he's going to offer you the carrot, and then you make your decision from there.
I think this is a little bit of a confrontational thing going on between the two characters, so I'm going to think, and plus it's not to be a dick, but it's early in the session, so I'm going to say, if you refuse, erase one of your stat highlights.
Ooh.
So yeah, Emperor, you see these shadows begin to move in a strange way, that as he kind of moves his hands, they don't seem to quite follow him, and then as he speaks, you hear this sound. It sounds like a voice, and it sounds like it's pursuing you to listen further, but it's not exactly clear on what it is, but it does sound kind of threatening and distant. Yeah, so the conversation can continue.
If I choose to erase one of the stat highlights, who erases the highlight? Is it me specifically?
You do.
Is it them?
Yeah.
I do. Okay, so
that's the stick. Basically, you either obey me or something bad's gonna happen.
Okay. I'm gonna stand up to him and I'm gonna erase my weird stat highlight. Because I'm thinking that while all this stuff is going on, kind of the Emperor, to protect himself, like, internally, he kind of shuts off that weird part of his brain. He's had supernatural experiences, but he doesn't like it.
Yeah.
He chooses to ignore it. And in a way, he basically chooses to ignore the reality here of the whispers, the weird shadows. He kind of just focuses on Lark. He's like, I'm sorry, Lark, but I'm in charge here. I will worry about the Wraith. You just follow my orders. Do you understand?
So be it. I am still in your care after all, but don't say I didn't warn you.
I haven't gotten this far in life without taking any risks, Lark. You may go back to your house. Go ahead, Lark.
Yeah, Lark doesn't say anything. He gets up and walks out.
So as the legate kind of, he looks at you with almost a smug grin, and he goes to open the door, and as he does, Drag is just standing there as if he's been staring at the door the entire time. Legate, just sees a shadow, goes around, and, the Emperor, you see him, moved in front of Lark. It looks like he's about to grab Drag by the collar and begin to drag his ass elsewhere.
Don't drag.
Do you say anything, or you just let him?
The Emperor is really suspicious of Drag right now. There's something that's clearly off. Have we established where the dungeon is yet?
Oh, we haven't.
We have
no.
not.
No.
We have not. Okay. I'm thinking the dungeon is probably in like this big tower here. That I'm thinking.
Let's see. Let me move my map around. Which tower? The one at the very top. Oh, there we go.
The one, yeah. I think that's where the dungeon is.
Okay.
And I basically kind of give the legate like a hand and eye signal, telling him like, "Hey, this guy's going down the dungeon, and we're going to interrogate this guy." Like, there's something that's wrong here. I didn't know this is like Princey fucking with us more.
Absolutely. The legate's quick. Like, he grabs him by his collar, but just as soon as he grabs him there, he reaches down and grabs his sword by his side so he can't go for it. And you see Drag, like, he doesn't want to react, but it's almost like involuntary movement as his leg just tries to keep himself up, but he's not strong enough to. So he just goes. He doesn't say anything, but you see his head just kind of turn, and it looks at you, Lark, and he just gets dragged down the corner, and the legate begins to take him to the dungeon.
Can Lark read a person? I think he wants to read Drag.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, like, that was a little bit unsettling. And Lark is probably aware that he kept looking at him, so he's just...
Absolutely. Roll that sharp.
I think anybody can tell there's something that's off here.
Okay. Yeah, so...
another partial.
As you see him, like, just standing there, not smiling, not grinning, just staring as the door opens, Legate grabs him, begins to drag him away, and he just kind of seems to watch you. What would you like to ask?
Let's see. What is Drag really feeling right now? I think that's what Lark would be asking himself.
Confusion. Immense confusion. He doesn't know what's happening.
So Lark, kind of looking at that, turns back to Invictus and just says, I hope you know what you're doing when the Wraith comes to your door. And he turns and walks out.
So, speaking of the Winter Wraith, you've just seen something. You heard whispering, you were staring out towards the Dark Zone, a place you try to avoid because of the nightmares, and you saw this thing again. Just lost cameras for some reason.
Yeah, your camera died on our end, or my end, please.
Let's try.
Same here. It's just the one.
Yeah.
Oh,
there you go.
There we go.
Yep.
So you saw this being a tall, dark, looks like almost onyx-looking figure that had you standing over Lark in a hospital bed, strapped down, wearing the surgeon outfit and mask. You had a gun in your hand, and you knew you had to pull the trigger, and you chose not to fire it at Lark, but to fire it upon yourself, waking you up into your room once more. You've caught your breath, and you listen a bit, just to make sure you don't still hear that whispering that called you, and you don't. You hear people outside, again, kind of distant, the echoes you're familiar with. You hear the wind rustling out front. What would Dusk like to do with her night? You've just witnessed the fight. You've had this strange experience. You had a brief introduction with Lark. And the day for you is still quite early.
Know what I'm going to do? I'm going to look for Shazza.
Okay. So Shazza works for one of the butchers. Do you know where he lives? Does he live within the actual butcher's shop? Does he have a family that he lives with? Is he like just a random kid that happened to make his way to the castle? So he's just living with a group of other kids. Where does Shazah live?
So he works at the butcher shop, right?
Yeah, he works for the butchers, which is how he's able to get you food and bring you food.
So I suppose he has like his house as the shop in the front, and maybe like I'm not sure how feasible a first floor would be, but the house is adjacent to the shop but separate.
Okay.
And he lives with his mother and father.
So as you begin to make your way kind of down to the tunnel and through, do you have a certain way that you always kind of go to find him, or is it rare that you actually go to seek him out, more that he comes to find you?
Well, Dusk would most likely know that he works at the butcher shop, so she probably has a way to get there unnoticed.
Okay. I mean, give us an idea of how you tend to travel. We've seen you, walking around, but you've had more time to explore the castle than probably the Emperor has, or some of the other people. You're also smaller frame, so do you tend to climb yourself up to the top of the wall and go that way, or is it just a matter of weaving through the houses, kind of sticking to the shadows and being calm, about your movement?
I'd say probably a combination of both. Depends on if there are patrols on the walls. Maybe it's safer to go by the houses, but if there are no patrols at that time in that particular wall, the wall would probably be faster.
Okay.
I guess there's probably like just enough patrols so we have an eye out. But considering it's very dark, we probably can't see that far out anyways, unless there's a light coming from there. So we probably have like a couple guys up, but not that many.
Yeah.
Like patrolling, I would say.
I think you definitely have some on the top patrolling. You definitely have some posted at the front entrance, or kind of the gates, and then the rest of them are probably still in the process of cleanup from the fight. Dispersing everyone. After a fight like that, there's going to be other fights of people just wanting to brawl. There's going to be people getting intoxicated on fermented goat's milk. There's probably going to be some folks fucking in the middle of the courtyard just because blood sport is kind of a common occurrence, but very much like a sign that we are alive. Like, that is rejoice in the night. So as you go through, are you trying to get there without being seen, or get there kind of quick? What's your game plan?
I mean, Dusk always tries to stay out of the spotlight, so definitely going hidden.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I'm gonna have you roll. I'm gonna have you roll plus cool. On a 10 plus, you're both gonna get there, and you're gonna get there unnoticed. On a 7 to 9, you can choose one. You can either get there or you will get noticed. On a miss, neither.
Okay.
Okay. So you have a choice. You can either get to his house, and someone might notice you, or you can spot someone that's about to be there and stop before actually getting there, having to replan how you might get access, but you are currently unnoticed in the courtyard.
I'll wait a bit.
Okay. So as you begin to make your way weaving through the house, you get towards the courtyard, and you see a couple of the guards, and they're in the process of dragging the bodies of Last and East across, and as they do, they're leaving this trail of crimson, and the blood's still warm, and you kind of stand there for a moment, and you see the spots of snow that it hits. It just kind of melts, and a little bit of steam comes off, and for some reason that just catches your eye. And as you refocus, you turn to make your way when you actually see Shazaz's father coming back in, making his way to the front door, kind of opening it and closing it behind him. It seems like he might have just come from the fight, or maybe getting a drink, as he did seem to kind of stumble into the door. Do you know if Shazaz lives? Like, have you been to his room before, or is this kind of your first time going to his house?
No, she has been there before, at least once or twice.
Mm-hmm. So you get up kind of close to the door, and are you planning on going to a specific window?
I'd say there is probably a window to Shazaz's room.
Mm-hmm. So as you kind of get close to it, you listen inside, and you can hear the parents having a discussion, probably talking about the fight and their thoughts on it. As you kind of peek through, you see Shazaz. He's sitting there, and you see that he's in the process of drawing. He has, it looks like just a piece of wood and some kind of charcoal that he's just kind of sketching this scene. And for a moment you can't see much, but it does look like the portrait of someone. You see kind of long hair, and kind of just like the forehead of something, but where you're seeing him, you're kind of seeing him from behind. He's like leaning back on this little cot that he has. It looks pretty rusted, and the woven part of it that holds in, you can see holes that have been patched through. But he's kind of leaning up against that, and you just kind of see him sketching.
Are Shazaz's parents like in the next room?
It's hard to tell. Like you can hear him pass the door. His door is closed. It sounds distant, so not necessarily like right in the hallway in front of his room, but somewhere else deeper in the house.
Okay. She will gently knock on the window.
You see him kind of jolt, like frightened for a moment, and he turns slowly. And having only seen him kind of in the dim light of the tunnel by the storage, it still kind of catches you back as he turns, and he has the deep burn scars across his face, almost as if he had been splashed with cooking oil across his dark skin, his tangled hair. But he kind of turns and looks, he sees you, and he smiles, but he kind of looks confused. He sets the piece of wood over upside down, placing it so that the image is obscured, and places the charcoal on it, kind of gets up on his cot and goes to unlatch, kind of push the little window frame out a little bit, and whispers, Dusk, why, what is it? Why are you out?
Well, she's silent, but Shazan knows that when she's silent with him, it's because something's up.
He looks at you and just stares you deep in the eyes and kind of nods, and you see him kind of reach underneath his cot and pulls out a bit of rope, kind of pushes the window over it a bit more and flips it over. It's just tied up old bed sheets and everything that he keeps on there just for it to be easier for you to get in. As you begin to climb in, he goes over to the door and he grabs it. It looks like those old kind of triangle wood blocks that you'd have to hold doors open. He takes one of those and shoves it underneath his door and shoves it in with his foot to kind of lock the door. And he actually goes over to the oil lantern that he has laying in the room, and he dims it down a little bit, so it's pretty dark in here. There's just a vague light yellow light coming off of there, kind of big shadows and darkness kind of starts to fill the room. And he comes and he sits down by the cot and kind of sits down next to you and just kind of looks at you and looks down to your hands and just kind of sits there in silence for a moment.
Dusk is sitting on his cot, like with her knees to her chest, and is also silent.
He takes a deep breath and reaches down and he grabs that piece of wood and he brings it up, and he shows it to you. And for a moment you think, does it kind of look like you? But you study it closer and it's not you, but it's actually the face of the woman that you had seen get killed in that garage. Kind of older woman, part of her hair seems shaved, wrinkles, kind of a big plump face. And he has begun to mark every single cut and wound on her face, almost wearing into the wood. Her eyes have been crossed out. He kind of goes and he sets it in his lap or in your lap, kind of on top of your knees. Why do they do this? I know, you've gone through so much more, but there's so few of us now. I don't understand why we're still so violent about everything. First it was Windjammer, and now three people died today for no reason. He kind of goes and rests his head on your shoulder. It's kind of just sitting there in the darkness. You can hear the parents a bit better, and their father's clearly intoxicated, talking about his glory days, about how he used to go out and go hunting and the few fights he got in with the tribal warriors and the nomads out there, and how he killed them all. And the wife is just kind of, yes, dear. Oh, that's right. I do remember that. And that's where that scar came from. I do recall. Oh, and it took you months to heal after that. And kind of poking like the holes in his story about you weren't that much of a badass. You kind of just sit there. He smells of iron, kind of blood and smoked meat, from his day's work, and he kind of just rests.
When Sheza mentions the deaths outside, her fists clench a bit on her nightgown, but that's all she does for now.
Yeah, he kind of sees that, and I think he recognizes that you kind of agree, and he goes and he kind of goes to grab your closed fist and just rests his hand on it. As he does, again, you see kind of the pockmarked scars across his darker skin on his hand. Same kind of scars he has on his face. He just kind of holds it. And then he goes and he reaches underneath his pillow, and he grabs a comic book, and it's something that, well, I'm not sure. Did you find it, or was it something that he already had when you met him?
He already had it.
It's like something that brings you a sense of joy. What is it? What is the comic book that he has? It's got frayed edges. A few of the pages are missing. The color is a bit faded, but it's still, it shows some kind of superhero or something. What kind of comic book is it?
Well, yeah, it's like you said, it's a comic book that, from what she can understand, it's about people that also have these weird powers. and they seem to be oppressed because of it.
Mm.
And she kind of relates to that in some way.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
that's probably one of the few things that she actually finds interesting.
Yeah, and it shows that there's a variety of them, and they all have their own unique abilities and characters. You know, you have those that can change their face and look like anything, those that can fly, and there's even one, and you would look at him and you wouldn't assume that he was anything. He's an older man, he's bald, he's sitting in a wheelchair, but he has the ability to reach into other people's minds and then sometimes control them, and you really relate to that. It doesn't matter who he is physically, it's what he's able to do, the mental mindset that he has. So you guys spend some time kind of enjoying the pictures, the artwork, you know, the calm, the peace, and each other's connection. And it allows your soul to forget about the experience in the church and forget about the dark zone for a moment, forget about the fight that just took place, to exist within your young age, to just be another teenager that lives in this world and what that means. Do how long do you normally, you know, plan to stay there? With the other times, or I guess actually, let me ask you this: what was the circumstance that kind of drove you to Shazad the last time? What had occurred that kind of caused you to need this kind of release?
She usually visits Shaza when she has nightmares.
Mm-hmm.
And so she kind of looks for some comfort, and Shaza is the only person that can provide that right now.
Mm-hmm. Along with the comic book, he has, you know, it's either a notebook or some kind of, you know, a bit of old envelopes or something. Do you write to him ever, or do you draw pictures of some of the things you see? How do you ever describe your nightmares to him?
Sorry, Discord cut off. Could you repeat it from the beginning?
Have you ever like actually wrote down the nightmares you've had, or drawn pictures to him, or is it just he is the main social person in this scenario? You just are there to kind of observe and experience, and he's the one that kind of provides that.
Honestly, I'm not sure how I would play this out, but I was thinking about that. She could probably show him the memories of the nightmares through like a psychic link,
Okay.
maybe. But I'm not sure if that would not scar him. I mean, at least the more gruesome ones. I mean, because she knows they're distressing, and she doesn't want to cause distress to Shaza.
Mm-hmm. It seems like he's experienced things as well, but in a different way, where yours was more torturous and experimental. His seems to be just physicality, the weird or the unfortunate circumstances of a kid living in the castle. I mean, you do have your direct brain whisper projection. I don't think you're necessarily going aggro on him. But we could definitely, if you're planning on showing him, we could probably have you roll like an act under fire to show your nightmares in a way that you can kind of control it. And because you're using kind of your abilities, instead of using cool, I'd allow you to use weird, kind of replace that stat for this kind of move. So yeah, if you want to do that, basically, you know, you have that physical connection, you have that time and peace. You know, he might close his eyes along with you, and you know how far you can go and how much you can show, but you also know that that part of you don't have full control over. So yeah, let's act under some fire. Let's roll plus weird and see if he's driven to the brink or able to. Okay. So as you begin to go through the day's events, what do you show him and what do you try to hide?
She usually doesn't show him what she does during the day or during her day. I mean, she can show snippets of Lark and how she felt threatened by him and then pushed them, but later realized that it wasn't completely her that forced herself to harm Lark, in a sense. And she shows him her nightmare, the one with Lark on the hospital gown and the gun. He probably doesn't know what the gun is.
Well, there are guns that exist here, but it's not primarily here. It's from the travelers that come in. There's definitely other settlements that have better weapons than here. It's just there's not many of them. But yeah, I think he probably doesn't recognize a lot of that scene. He doesn't know what a surgeon's outfit is or really what a hospital room or table would be. You feel his hand grip kind of tighter as he struggles to kind of get an identity, to be able to place himself in that situation and be able to understand where he is and what's happening. But after a moment, you feel his kind of hand release, and his breath begins to kind of slow a little bit. He begins to calm down. He opens his eye, and there's just a single small drop of it looks like blood, but you look closer, it's black. It kind of just rolls, almost like ink. It rolls down his face and kind of moves along the scars and begins to fade, almost like, you know, crying with mascara. Just a single drop. It looks at you, he grabs your hand, and you know, he's seen these nightmares before, but now you're seeing someone within the castle, and just says, no, this isn't, that wasn't real. It wasn't real. It's that place. I've told you, you have to put something up over that window. It is bad for all of us. It shows lies. It shows destruction and demolition. It does not ever show anything good. And you have this ability, and it's trying to twist you. It's like in here, and he flips to a page in the comic book when they see what their powers can do, and they want more, but they get pulled to the depths, to the dark. Dusk, you are not darkness. You are light. You just need to be seen. It wasn't real. Kind of just. Go ahead.
She just grimaces and tightens her grip on his hand, and leans against him, like as if she's almost about to cry.
He leans forward and kind of forehead to forehead sits there. And you guys spend some time kind of calming. So Lark, you've made your way out and begun to head back to your church.
Yep, that is exactly where Lark is going because there is someone he needs to have a conversation with.
So the door is already open. You can see your what do you call your cult again? Just the cult? They don't have
I call them a cult, but when I'm referring to, like, I'm obviously like the head of the cult, but I often refer to them as my followers.
Okay. So yeah, you see your followers are already in the church. A few of them are kind of off to small groups, 2 or 3, and they seem to be having a communication. Rourke is standing at the front, and you see Abraham sitting kind of in the front pew. Larissa's sitting next to him, and you see her just rubbing her ear consistently, like just nonstop, kind of itching it. As you enter, everyone kind of turns, but you hear a few more whispers. It's kind of hard to tell who's saying it, even in a small room. But everyone is looking towards your direction as you enter.
Lark is making a beeline for Abraham.
As you begin to walk forward, Abraham like sees you and stands up and kind of backs away a bit, but Rourke just pushes him forward and he gets shoved into the aisle in front of you.
Yeah, Lark is going to grab him by the throat and continue pushing him until he hits the podium on the raised area.
You and as his body like hits, he leans back into it, and you hear that sound as the podium begins to tilt back a bit, becoming loosened.
Lark, just pressing his hand in because he doesn't want Abraham to say anything, just like gets right in his face. Do you realize what you have done? Not only did you force me and force my hand and lead to the death of 2 people that truly I do not believe deserved it, you also single-handedly eliminated any chance we had of mending our relations with Ashtown. And he releases his grip and takes a step back. Just wants Abraham to react.
Abraham, he sits there and like you've had similar conversations. You know his eyes are always just kind of moving around, just always darting. But for the first time you see him like focus at you, and there's fear, but there's also like determination, which is also a bit strange. And he looks. They're both dead. The Emperor is the one that killed them. Your relations... You would allow outsiders to sleep with our women and allow outsiders to steal from our storage.
What
has
proof
happened?
did you have? What proof did you have that they were the ones? Did you investigate at all, or did you see it, assume, and immediately draw a weapon? Is that not what happened last time?
I saw him walking from our tents with a bag of potatoes. I approached him, no weapon drawn, asking where he got that bag. I heard Rourke and Larissa talking. We aren't going to be able to eat after a week. What are you doing about that? Have you gotten soft behind these walls?
I punched him in the face.
Yeah, go ahead and sucker. Yeah, definitely sucker. Yeah, you are just gonna go ahead and hurt him, I think. Let's see.
Yeah, he is getting Lark fired up.
How bad are you wanting this punch to be? Like, how much harm are you planning on doing?
I'm not pulling this one.
You hit him, and immediately just that force was all it's needed. He goes back, and the podium goes back with him. You see the rest of the followers kind of stand up to watch this, and he goes back. Oh, fuck. That's better.
Lark draws his knife and puts it like up to Abraham.
He stands up and begins to press on it. This is what we've been needing. This is what we were following. And he begins to press. You feel like his chest begin to like squelch against your knife.
Lark looks at Abraham right in the eye, and he's just like, I'm not quite sure you understand what our purpose is. It was a hard decision to let your last error slip, because I knew letting you go then would have resulted in a pointless death. I gave you a second chance, and you squandered it so quickly. I'm not sure I should make the same mistake that I did before.
Do what you need to do.
Lark kind of looks around to see what kind of crowd this has gathered.
Would you like to I feel like this is reading a person, but it's a group. So I'm gonna let that happen. Let's read a person. I don't feel like this is necessarily a situation. I definitely feel like your cult can be considered a person at the moment.
They're a little bit of a collective, so that certainly
Yeah.
makes sense. So I'm gonna read.
Okay.
All
So
right.
many partials.
Mm-hmm.
Better than a lot of fails, I guess.
True.
So reading a person. How do they word it in here? What do they wish I'd do?
So, you know your cult.
Mm-hmm.
They disdain law, peace, reason, society. When they are in surplus, they go on violent rampages. They've seen their cult leader let the emperor take his kill. They need a sacrifice to make things right.
Sacrifice.
Let's see. Lark definitely is not going to let this go undone, because in reality, Abraham has just this is a huge setback to the group. Because Lark, he's fine with violence, but he wants it directed in the way he deems fit.
Mm-hmm.
What's been happening right now is absolutely not okay. Lark, is the entire cult here?
All but one. You look around, Rakara's not to be seen.
And
Always
knowing
fair.
exactly what that means, Lark is absolutely okay with that. Lark kind of turns away from Abraham, looking at the group, and just starts speaking. What exactly do you think I deemed that wretch of a man worthy of sacrifice for those months ago? I honestly am not sure any of you remember. He was a leech upon their society, likely murdered for no apparent reason, and was simply just not going to do. So we took care of that problem. Violence is necessary for survival. But when you let it consume you and you let it be the sole drive of your actions, you are little better than those we wish to purge. Abraham here seems to have forgotten what separates us from them. Has anyone else forgotten? Like, looking around.
You see a few eyes kind of jut down, kind of in embarrassment.
The reason we have been so idle as of late is because of the dire situation we find ourselves in. The Emperor is talking of conscripting us in war. And I know what you're all thinking. You would love to get your hands on some of those swords, but make no mistake, there is more to the situation than a simple indulging of your desires. We are potentially nothing more than expendable assets to the Emperor. I rather not die for nothing. I don't even know who he wishes to wage war against. I don't know. He kind of like stops for a bit because he almost like started going into like the... Because just quickly to clarify, Dusk did not admit to killing Windjammer, but that was the only thing she reacted to. So Lark, at the very least, knows that she has something to do with it, and therefore has doubts of the Emperor's reason for going to war in the first place. So he's just kind of looking to the group. He turns to Abraham. I'm going to ask you the same question I asked you when I took you in. Are you going to die for nothing? Or are you going to spend your life serving a power worthwhile? Because frankly, if you choose to continue on this path and die for nothing, I might as well kill you like a wild animal here and now.
You see like his bravado break down, crumble. I only thought I was doing what was best for you. Rourke kind of takes a stand, kind of leans into your ear. He wasn't the first to draw weapons. I know it's not right what he did. He has reparations to pay. But I just thought you'd be aware.
Lark kind of nods at that. Looks to Abraham. You have a punishment due, but I don't believe a simple beating is going to get the message across, so I will take some time to figure out what to do with you.
This isn't the first time that you've had a follower get out of line and need to have their way. What is the stockade of sorts of your group? What is their symbol of "you done wrong, kid"? Do you have manacles that they're tied up to? Are they forced to walk laps around the tent? Are they the ones that have to clean slop? Do they have to, like, what is a normal, while I'm making my decision, your ass is gonna realize, like, this is not okay what you done did?
I think Lark kind of he has the group kind of collectively keep an eye on them, make sure they don't go too far, but he lets them kind of just sit and think about what's going to happen to them. Kind of a bit of a pre-mental torture.
Mm. Yeah, like there's just this specific stool in the back of the church that, you know, it's kind of well worn and just sitting there, so you're forced to just watch the door and wait for you to come in, waiting, and you see the sun rise and fall and rise and fall, and you're just waiting. So he kind of looks back to the stool, back to you, reaches into his pocket and pulls out his knife and hands it to you.
Lark takes it and then hands it off to Rourke.
Rourke just puts it in his pocket. He just, without saying a word, turns, goes and sits down, kind of slumps shoulders. The rest of the followers begin to sit as well. Kind of the tone of the chambers more attentive. They're kind of waiting for your next word, longing for it, eager for what you have to say.
So Lark kind of gets up to the raised area, kind of looks at the podium, just kind of like nods, like, likes that podium. And it just kind of shoves it with his foot off the raised area and just kind of stands where it would have been. And looking upon his followers, he just says, "So, would you all like to join the Emperor's army without question and die for nothing? Or would you all like to go down as legends?"
In a strange, almost scripted role, they all speak as one. We live for Lark. We long for Lark. We lust for Lark. And there's a pause. We will be Lark's legends.
Let the orgy commence.
Literally, when I get the frenzy move, that's an option. So, Lark, so, like, this is a desperate, like, time for Lark. Lark has, like, just kind of thinking of the timeline in my head, Lark has probably been doing this for, let's say, like, 6 years. And he's probably had, in those 6 years, a total of maybe, like, 30 members. This is, like, the group has died off, and he and Rourke at his side have worked to rebuild it on several occasions. But he's legitimately afraid that he won't be able to do it again.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, he's like, I have to get this right this time.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not willing to let, like, something as rudimentary as, like, insubordination and some misguided interpretations of his teachings, like, ruin everything. He reaches into his vestments and holds the black skull in his hand out for everyone to see.
There's excitement. Like, they don't even know what this is. This is the first time, and the whole place kind of erupts and just cheers. They don't know what it is. They just know it's something important to you, and that makes it vividly important for them.
And Lark is, I think this will be a good spot to transition to the next scene. But Lark's going to begin to pray in front of his followers, which I don't want to take up too much time all at once, but that is probably going to be an open my brain roll.
Yeah. So as that commotion goes through, the camera kind of pulls back, and it's kind of weird. Like, you have this church that from the outside, it almost sounds like there's a full service going on in there, a service that hasn't been held on that church for eons, just for so long. Like, you see people taking a wider skirt going to the tavern, just trying to avoid it because it just feels a bit strange. But inside, it is full of joy. So yeah, we're going to transition as we see Drag being dragged down the stairs into the
Poor
dungeon. It's a fairly small dungeon, maybe only 5-6 cells, something like that, and it's old iron. A few of them might not even work, or it'd be very hard to get the cell door open, and there's just kind of rusted chains and all of that. And there's this one part of the hallway where the rubbles come down just so far that you'd have to be really small to get in there, but you know there's a room back there. Like, you've looked through the cracks a few times, and you've seen, like, tables, this weird, like, angled table that's up against the wall. It has, like, these wheels on it. But you haven't been able to get back there. But you take them to the cell, and the legate finds, like, the few manacles that still work, and just go and throw them up against the wall and lock them in. Drag just kind of hits the wall and just stands there, like, arms up against, just looking. I don't.
If you don't mind, I would like to create another NPC for this occasion.
Yeah,
actually.
absolutely.
Okay, so he is another member of the gang, actually. One of the higher-ups, and one of the few others that actually has, like, a name to denote his job. And his name is Cruciatus.
All right.
I'll post in the Roll20 like how it's spelled.
Is he your cook?
No, not that bad. And
He has many roles.
And this man is actually a member of the Inner Council. But he never really shows up. Because he doesn't really care for all the bureaucracy and menagerie of running a government. No, he joined up with Invictus for one very good reason. The gang is known for being pretty savage, except he's the savagest of them all. He's the guy who pushes their limits. He's the guy who makes even the legate go like, whoa, dude, you're going a bit too far.
Mm-hmm.
Cruciatus.
I gotta meet this man.
Cruciatus is my, how should I say it, Minister of Internal Stability. If something goes wrong, he's the guy who deals with it.
As you make your way downstairs, there's another door, wooden door, that looks like it was probably a jailer's thing. It has 2 iron rods in the middle, and there's some light back there. And you hear the door swing open, and out coming, no shirt, kind of a big fat man, but you can see chunks of his skin that he's just kind of carved off in this strange pattern. Deep divots, both of his nipples are gone, just completely cut off. His face has these marks that almost look like tiger stripes down, that are just, again, these deep cuts and separations that he's just allowed to heal to almost stretch the skin. And when he smiles, he's missing all of his teeth, and they've been replaced by, it looks like, teeth from those he's pulled out of other people, just shoved back into his gums. Every tooth a different size. He comes.
This man is a walking health code violation.
It has been a while since you came down here, Emperor. It
been
is
a while,
good to see you,
Christians.
friend.
It certainly is good seeing you again. I have some meat for you.
I've been getting hungry.
Yes. I kind of walk towards the cell. Look at Drag. I'm sure you met Drag before while you two were working together. It's been a while since you've gone upstairs.
That lame motherfucker.
I need some information from him. And I think that's your specialty.
Indeed. What do you want? The snip and trim? The vivisection? The stretch? What are you looking for today?
Surprise me.
Very good.
Chef's
I'm working
choice.
on something. Give me a moment.
With that, the legate kind of goes, I think I will watch the door if that's okay with you.
Understood, Legate.
And he turns and begins to make his way. You hear the slow creaking of something on wheels, and after a while you see him moving. It looks like a cauldron that's been heated up. It's got a few metal objects on top of it.
Watch your foot, Emperor. It's kind of a wide load.
Which is ironic because he's much wider than the cart he's moving. But he pulls it past, and there's this very stringent smell that comes from it. It's a bit of like metallic, but also like an old musty mushroom kind of wet, soggy smell. But he takes it and begins to move it in.
So, what is it that Drag has done? Have you been a bad boy?
Slaps his face, and Drag's just kind of, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
Why did you keep on coming back when the Legate told you to leave? What were you doing, Drag?
I had to watch that weird fuck from the church.
Why? Who told you to watch him?
I just had to.
Tell me your name. Tell me a name.
Rashawnus,
go ahead with the first.
He dips this large, dark, black kind of iron scoop into this liquid, and he grabs Drag and kind of shoves his head back, and Drag just kind of looks, and he lifts it up and begins to pour this liquid into his mouth, and as it does, he begins to cry out and try to spit, but it's just starting to burn the inside of his mouth. You see steam every time he screams. Begin to exhale. We won't go into too much details, but after a few seconds, he releases.
You will speak. You only have so much time before. Well, you will not have the tongue to do so.
He puts it back in and kind of takes a step back. Drags. I swear, I don't know. I had to. I remember watching the fight. And after I didn't want him to die.
I would like to read so I'm gonna kind of analyze him, what he's saying, his body language, despite the fact he's being tortured. I think I'm trying to read a person.
Yeah.
Despite this torture, literally.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna say go ahead and give you yourself a +1 to this, a bonus.
Okay. There's my character sheet. And 1. Okay. How'd I roll?
Ooh.
I think this is worse for Drag than anybody.
Poor Drag.
Dusk.
Ouch.
You're sitting in Shazo's room, and you've just kind of gone through this thing of showing someone else your nightmares. You had a very strange occurrence. For a moment, you're seeing through someone else's eyes. And you're in a dark place. It looks like a cell. And there's a disgusting large man you've never seen before standing in front of you. And the Emperor is staring at you saying, "Why did you do this? Why were they following you?" And for a moment, you feel like you have control over who is attached to the wall. You feel you don't feel anything, but you can see and you can feel like their brain waves, right? Like the things that you touch and you play with, you can feel it. And that pain sensory overload's going on, but you also feel that pull that you still have on this person. And after a moment, you do recognize this must be Drag.
So it's not like afflicting for me, but I understand that.
You're seeing through his eyes, and you feel like you might be able to whisper into his mind.
Hmm. Let me think what to do. What to do.
And I'm gonna say you have a chance to actually ask one of the read a person questions to the Emperor from his perspective, as you're trying to
Freebie?
read this. What's that?
Like a freebie, or do I have to roll?
Nope, just a free. You get one question as you're trying to get an understanding of what this situation is. You have a chance to ask one of those questions about the Emperor.
This is the result of him failing the roll.
Yeah. So you can see through his eyes, and now you're gonna.
Okay. Is the Emperor believing Drag?
So are you asking how could I get the Emperor to believe Drag?
I mean,
Or what is the Emperor really feeling?
I guess the latter.
Okay.
Okay, so how is the Emperor really feeling? Honestly, he's feeling a bit stressed right now.
Mm-hmm.
A lot has been going on in the last day. He's had some political negotiations he wasn't expecting. He had one of his guys turn up dead. He had some stuff happening with the church. He's pretty sure he's preparing for a war with an enemy that he does not know. And now one of his guys is acting really suspicious, not understanding what is going on. So right now he's really under pressure of trying to think, is this more of Princey and the gang fucking with the Emperor? And trying to fuck up his what he's doing to try to get at him? Or is it something else entirely? And he's trying to figure that out.
And Emperor, what is your question as you begin to read Drag?
Is
Oh,
your
by
character
the-
telling the truth?
Can I just say something?
Yeah.
As Dusk takes control of Drag, he immediately stops. Like, he was feeling pain. He was distressed,
Mm-hmm.
and suddenly he just becomes stoic and stares at the Emperor,
So
scowling.
he was telling the truth. He honestly, in his mind, he knows the base thoughts of that's all I wanted. I wanted to make sure Lark was safe, so I had to follow him. But the reasoning behind it, he couldn't grasp. Now he stands there and what is it? Crusacious? Is that
Crusacious.
Crusacious? Yeah. So big old crouton Crusacious here. You see him stop.
You need more, don't you? Emperor, we can go deeper if you wish.
You're the expert. The Emperor is kind of he isn't really wanting to go that far. He doesn't like tortured people, but he really wants to find out what's going on, even if he has to puke his guts out afterwards.
He grabs the ladle once more and grabs Drag, and this time he twists his head over to the side and he begins to pour the liquid into his ear. Drag's eyes go wide, screaming in agony, but his mouth makes no sound.
You want to talk now? Think a bit further? Think, Drag. There's something going on in that head of yours. You may right now not know what's going on, or what went on, but think. Something your subconscious knows. Something your subconscious always knows.
I was there. I brought you to the fight. I I was standing in front of the door, watching the door. That lady had just died, and I was watching the fight, and then I couldn't see him die.
The Emperor's going to approach Drag, put his right hand on the part of his face that isn't like being burnt to a crisp. And the Emperor is like, he's already been forced to do this once today. He doesn't like doing this. But he's going to try just like thinking in a more abstract way about reality, separating his perspective from his body. And my mind's your mind.
Okay. So I'm gonna actually ask Dusk, as you see the Emperor approach and kind of grab the side of Drag, do you feel like you want to interfere with his opening of his mind? Because
Could it be a
you
help?
kind of have, it could be a help as well.
Yeah.
You do,
Yeah.
in a way, have physical contact without having that physical contact. But with your direct brain projection relay, yeah, you can feel the Emperor searching for more. So you might be able to lean him into the weird and the crazy, or try to stop him if you want to keep things on the hush-hush.
I have a -2. If you want to try to stop me, you probably will succeed.
Nah, I will let him.
Are you gonna just let him roll straight, or you want to help him with it? Just kind of
Help
wait to
me.
see what happens.
I need the help.
I can help him.
Okay. So you see a moment where the Emperor, he seems stressed and he's searching for answers, and you've been able to get answers from the Maelstrom before. So go ahead and roll plus your history with him. So however many history you have with the Emperor. Okay.
No.
All right. So go ahead and make your roll straight there, Emperor. Ooh, okay. Alrighty then. Wow, I gotta look some things up here, because this is we are.
That's
having
never what you
some
want.
Fun.
That's never what you want to hear the MC say.
I can't wait to get checkmated by the enemy here.
Oh my god.
So both of your visions go black. And after a while, you see light begin to appear at the far edge. It begins to rush at you, a dark red burning, almost like a laser pointer. It's more steady, and it begins to grow. And as it does, things begin to appear. And you find yourselves standing on top of corpses and bodies. And Emperor, this feels familiar to you, but you realize this is not that battlefield. Walls begin to form, and you're standing in the courtyard of the castle, and it's filled with bodies of villagers and traders and people you've seen in the past and faces you recognize. And it's filling and filling. And your vision changes, and you find yourself seated. And as you both look up, you're sitting at a chess table, facing each other, on top of bodies in the center of the courtyard. And it's warm. It's eerily warm. It's a summer day. The sky is blue. The sun is large. And you sit face to face in this strange place. What would you like to do?
It's you.
I mean, with all the corpses around, Dusk, she probably notices the Emperor, but it's clearly horrified.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
She is shaken Is there like blood on her or something?
You're both of you are completely clean. The chest table completely clean, but you are resting on top of just these layers of bodies. That 300 scene where they stack that hill, that wall of bodies. That's what it is, just across the entire courtyard. But the seat you're on, both of you, and the chest table, clean. There's no pieces on the chest table at the moment either.
Yeah.
The
So
Emperor's kind of like overwhelmed at this point a bit, asking too many questions. Why is the sky blue? Why are there bodies? Why is there the girl I've been looking for?
yeah, she's basically at this point gone a bit catatonic. It's like she's having a PTSD.
So the Emperor's like, fuck, I knew I shouldn't have done this. This never ends well. God damn it.
Lark's
freaking
words just in the
goddamn
background.
shit.
Don't say I didn't warn you.
This freaky shit never fucking goes well. Why are you here? The Emperor's kind of like looking straight at Dusk.
As
No
you-
answer.
You're the girl, right? The Wraith of Winter. The Winter Wraith.
She's just catatonic.
As you're just demanding these questions, something catches the corner of your eye, Emperor, and you look past the walls and you see the peaks in the mountains, but they're not covered in snow. They're green, but there's something dark. And you try to turn away, but you can't. And as you look, you see something begin to stand. A large black hand slams on top of the mountainscape. Another one grabs another peak and begins to rise. And you see this pure black onyx-like figure that begins to go higher and higher. And you just can't stop yourself but looking up and up and up. It takes this long step up and over. One sec.
I'm going full attack on Titan now. I didn't mean to time that while you were drinking, but
This is how Lark killed 2 people.
I had nothing to do with this. I warned you.
I meant with the drinking. I know, yeah, you totally warned Invictus. Shame is Invictus is one stubborn bastard.
Oh boy. Yeah, that escalated like really fast.
Yeah. No, Invictus acts like he's all like, he doesn't give a shit and other things, but he is one scared dude in the end, dealing with shit he doesn't understand.
I cannot wait for Invictus and Lark to have another conversation.
He's like, Invictus like goes up to Lark's church. It's like, what the fuck? He gives a description of this thing. He's like, what the fuck is that?
And Lark's just like, yeah, I mean, take a seat. I'll have a conversation with you.
And that's how Invictus got converted.
Are you going to be like Tony Stark, met 2 gods, still atheist?
Pretty much.
Oh boy.
Yeah, like Invictus is just sitting in the courtyard of his own castle, surrounded by piles of bodies. There's this creepy ghost girl at the other end, clearly having issues. And then there's this titanic black thing rising in the horizon. And it's just like, I'm not paid enough for this.
Oh
I think it's
God.
officially Invictus's weirdest day of his life.
All right. Apparently, The
Tuesday
entity's
for
trying
Lark.
to kill me too.
He's too powerful.
He is.
Not even the MC can contain him.
So, anyways,
This is why Lark.
What have we done?
as you're watching Emperor, this large being begins to stand and take this large stride over the mountain. A second step, he's behind you, and you both feel the earth shift, like all the bodies kind of hover in the air for a moment and drop back down. You see this large leg lift up, and you watch it before this giant round. It looks like a peg. It doesn't look like a full foot. This peg of a foot sits right above you and begins to plummet straight to the earth. What would you both like to do?
The Emperor's definitely dodging out of the way.
All right. And what about you, Dusk?
Probably
You look up and you see the same figure you've seen recently. But this time you don't see features on the face. You just see a giant foot coming straight down on top of you.
Well, I'll assume the first step that shook the earth snapped her out of her PTSD episode, and she's just like, yeah. But God damn it, I'm missing the words. Wait. She's surprised by this. It's actually the first time she's seen something this big, but she will try to move away.
Okay. I'm going to have you both act under fire then.
Aha. XP.
So that is going to
You know
be
what?
a cool roll. Yeah.
I don't know how I'll be able to do it, but I would like to help Dusk with that. There are answers I still haven't asked her. I want to make damn sure she gets out of there so I can ask her said questions.
Okay. Yeah, roll on your history. I'm going to say if you're able to get a 10, then you're both going to get out unscathed. 7 to 9, you're going to have to sacrifice something to save both of yourselves, and on a miss, she gets away, but you don't.
Screw me now! Oh, thank God!
So with a flash, you dive across the table and grab this small girl, and as you actually feel her for a moment, you don't expect there to actually be a person there. There's a brief moment where even no matter how focused you are on the reel, you think you might just pass through her, but then you feel her, and you both go up and over the chair, and you land on top of some of the bodies as this foot comes down and destroys the chess table and the chairs, just shatters them. This other foot goes up, and as it comes down, it begins to crash into the castle, just breaking, just shattering it. Dusk, you land on your back, and the landing's kind of soft as you land against the pile of bodies, and the Emperor's kind of laying there on top of you, like just having saved you from this footstep. Is there anything you want to do?
She's just like staring, completely bewildered, and she just stares for a moment.
The Emperor's gonna let her go because it seems like the foot is heading, like, not in our direction right now.
Mm-hmm.
This, like, massive creature. So the Emperor's gonna let her go and kind of, like, move to the side, sitting on the pile of bodies. Kind of, like, looking at everything. Looking at the castle, the bodies, what it all represents. The Emperor isn't a man that really understands this sort of stuff. But from what he does get, most of this is a metaphor. That's what he's heard from the few times Lark has, Lark's voice has carried over when he was doing his sermons. So I think this is all a metaphor. Invictus is taking this metaphor to mean that he needs to tread lightly. That if things come to a head where he is forced to play chess with Dusk, it will lead to only death and destruction for everything around. So the Emperor sits. And after a second, he looks at Dusk. And he sighs. He's like, well, sure I've gotten myself into a pickle now, haven't I? What's your name, Wraith? I assume you have some kind of a name.
Okay, so at this point, I'm not sure what would be cooler for Dusk, or if it would be it would interfere. I don't know if it would interfere mechanic-wise, but from the beginning I was thinking she could talk in whispers, but psychic whispers.
Okay.
But I'm not sure if that's the correct way to go about it, or if I should just ever talk normally, but in her own way.
I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I think because of the persona that you've kind of had here, that people may not find it that unusual that they call the Winters Wraith doesn't speak using vocal cords, but through something different. So just through normal conversation, I think it would make sense that maybe that's the way you communicate, because it's also the way that you kind of force others to do your bidding. So yeah, I think that would work for me if it works for the table.
Yeah.
Sure.
I don't see how it's gonna. Yeah, and I don't see how it's gonna give Dusk a totally unfair advantage in any way.
No,
It's already a brainer. She's weird as hell.
I was
it
just
doesn't.
more concerned.
I don't think it changes communication. It just changes the way that she communicates. So
Yeah,
I was more worried because it's a way to communicate that others might not hear.
to a point, but if it's a situation, depending on what you're saying, if there's a chance that someone else might not hear it, you're a brainer. So why not make the brainer have something else? You never know. There could be other weird folks that are listening in, or maybe there's those that are not in touch with their weird at all, so it might actually be harmful for them to receive your words.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's really a really fun idea that kind of helps make this campaign even more unique than it is.
Yeah, because you have to think that everyone that hears words in their head are going to take it their own way. Some might recognize it's coming from a person. Some might think they're crazy. Some might think there's demons in their head. Who knows? So that's kind of a risk you take by having a conversation with someone.
Okay. That all sounds awesome. So, okay, back into the situation at hand. So after Invictus asks what Dusk's name is, there's a moment of silence as she stares still a bit surprised by the whole thing, but then starts to compose herself. And then there's this whisper in Invictus' head. It's clearly from a young female, or you would imagine it is a voice from a young female. Dusk.
Invictus starts chuckling a bit. This is the least weird thing he's encountered so far while in this dream. So he kind of starts chuckling to himself. He's kind of saying back out loud. Is that how you usually communicate to people's heads? Or is it just in this dream?
She just stares. Seems to be
I'm
confirmation.
I'm gonna take that to mean that's how you usually communicate. I'm sure you know who I am already.
Would she know about Invictus's true name?
I don't think I don't think you would have because you wouldn't have been there before the castle. I think you would have only have experienced the Emperor through having arrived at his castle.
Okay. So there's another whisper in Invictus's head. The one they call the Emperor.
That is what some call me. Others Invictus. People used to call me Mark a while back. Back before I became the heart holder. That isn't something I tell many people. The Emperor kind of weirdly starts relaxing around the corpses that are around him. Slowly easing into the situation despite its horror, despite how deeply unsettling it is. Tell me, Dusk. A lot of weird shit has been happening around my castle. Now, no matter what you tell me here, I'm not going to track you down or anything, but I want to know, was that you, or was that them? The other weird fucks that came by. At this point, it doesn't matter, because if I tell anybody about my encounter here, they're going to think I'm fucking insane. So, no matter what, I'm still going to have to go fight those weird fucks. I at least want to know.
As you're both having this conversation, Dusk, you notice, wait, that figure's not there anymore. And you like shift to look at the Emperor a bit more, and your hand hits something solid. You glance down real fast as he's talking to you. That same black pistol you had in your nightmare not long before has just appeared and is resting by your side.
But this time I have control.
For the moment, you seem to... It's just sitting there. Your hand is kind of on top of it, but not fully gripping, just like you tried to press up, and you just feel it sitting there.
She starts to get nervous again. She turns to Invictus, and there's another whisper in his head, but more frantic, more panicked. No, no more death, no.
I'm sorry, but that seems like it's the way life is going to be around here for a while. It's funny, really. I built this hardhold from the ground up to stop these things from happening. I built a trade empire so that people could finally trade, so civilization could start back up from the ground up. But in the end, I guess Rome always has to fight Carthage, right? I'm just about the only goddamn person that knows what that means these days. Those old books, the old days, back when hardholders had entire continents to worry about. God. What it must have been like. What it must have been like back then.
And there's another whisper. Then keep it away from me.
Well, I don't know if it's that simple. Then, now, future. Is it really all that different in the end? You'll probably understand this better than I. I don't understand what the fuck is going on with any of these weird fucking shit. But everybody sees something different when they look in the dark zone. When I go and look over there, I see civilizations rise and fall and rise back again. The endless destruction and rebirth of humanity. I have no idea what the hell that means, but maybe you might know. You seem to be more in tune to this sort of stuff than I am. I don't know if the past... Oh, go ahead.
You can continue if you want to finish.
No. You can go ahead.
Okay, so there's another whisper. If you bring death to me, you will let them out.
Who's him?
She doesn't answer.
Take your power. Do it.
She starts shaking
Seize
her
your
head.
power.
She starts shaking her head vigorously.
The Emperor gets up at this point, starts walking on the bodies. He starts like screaming into the sky. You think you can beat me, motherfucker? I was born in this shit, and I will die by this shit. I don't care about all this weird shit that's going on here, because you know what? I'll fucking find out what all this is, and I'll nuke it to fucking hell. Mark my words. I'll find out whatever the hell's going on here. Fucking take it out.
He is lost. Save him.
Continue to hear these whispers through your head. You hesitate. You close your eyes, Dusk. And Emperor, as you're walking on the bodies, you see her kind of bow her head. Shaking. No. No. But there's a sense of darkness, but already in a dark place, a shadow within the night that begins to emulate from her, and as it does, you see the bodies begin to fade. You see the castle walls begin to fade. You see the dark blue sky begin to fade. It feels welcoming yet strange as she begins to push away from these forces that are onslaughting both of you.
I was almost about to sneeze. So basically, like, everything is starting to fade, more or less?
Yeah, you're seeing like this shadow begin to form around her. She's just standing there like, no, pushing back against what's pushing upon her. And as the shadow forms, it obscures everything around it. It makes it just seem like a welcoming darkness to get you out of this situation.
I can't believe I'm about to say this unironically, but I attack the darkness.
Okay.
The Emperor is going to... I assume, like, even in this, like, metaphorical universe, he has some kind of a weapon on him, like a sword, something, to represent himself. He's going to take it out, and kind of this welcoming darkness. The Emperor, he knows better. He knows better than to just believe his feelings at this point.
Mm-hmm.
There's some weird shit going on, and by the Emperor's standards, it would not surprise him the slightest if they're trying to manipulate him. As he showed with Lark, he is not one who really wants to be manipulated. So he's going to take his sword out and do what the Emperor would probably do in this situation and start attacking the darkness.
By the darkness, do you mean Dusk? And the darkness that is...
The darkness that's
her?
like... That's... I'm specifically attacking the, like, things that's emanating from her, but not her specifically.
Okay. Yeah. As you rush in to just attack this shadow, you feel a release, almost like someone cut a leash off, and you end up falling through it, and you stumble for a moment before your eyes reshape and refocus, readjust, and you realize you're standing in the dungeon. Drag is standing there still, like, in and out of consciousness, and Crustaceous is a bit confused as well. Dusk, you find yourself reawakened as you see the Emperor charge towards you, but you keep your eyes closed and you try to force it out. And you hear Shazza in your ear, Dusk, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. And his words and his whispers are able to pull you out as well back into his room. And as you both reappear in the places you had been once before, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we will see how everybody's dealing. So let's take 5, get some water, and we'll be back in a moment.